Alright guys, and welcome back for a new review. Today we're going to go ahead and take a look at G.I. Joe's communications officer, Breaker. So Breaker is a 1982 straight arm G.I. Joe who came out at the very beginning of the line. Really cool figure, one of the originals, the OG 13 as they call them, or the green 13. Give you a 360 view of him. Zoom in on the detail here. So you notice that Breaker has a beard, and that is how he was portrayed in the cartoon. But in the comic books, Breaker was often clean shaven and would chew bubble gum. So there's inconsistency there. It actually is something that popped up very recently, that there was a 1984 slated release of a new Breaker that was clean shaven. That's pretty interesting. This just came out recently. Seen it on a podcast. I'll go ahead and see if I can link a put a link in the description below so you guys can take a look at that for yourself. But anyway, getting on with Breaker here, he came with just a few accessories. So his helmet was a two-part deal, and with that you had a standard G.I. Joe helmet, but what could clip onto it is his communication set. So this is your standard 1980s G.I. Joe helmet with the ear holes, which oftentimes you'd have visors that could clip on. It would just come just like this for some figures, like Grunt, for instance, would just simply come with the helmet alone. But Breaker, standard helmet, but with the communications pack, and you'll notice it has a wire that would attach to his other accessory, which is his backpack. And then you'll notice the hole at the top. This was called a communication television backpack. This part right here was supposed to be the television, I believe. And I would just plug into there, and then you could set it up on the figure. So back in 1982, when they first released the line, there was a lot of reuse of parts. Bodies, legs, heads would be reused for a variety of different figures. So Breaker here does share the same head sculpt with Rock and Roll, and he also shares the head sculpt with Clutch, which was the Vamp driver, the G.I. Joe Jeep. And you'll notice they just changed it up by changing the color of their hair. But one of the side benefits, I guess you could say, for me, I kind of like it, is that these guys kind of remind me of the 1960s or 70s G.I. Joe Adventure Team Joes. So it's almost as if those guys got inducted into the Real American Hero team and got individual personalities and specialties, which is pretty cool. I kind of like that idea. And speaking of reuse of parts, you'll notice the legs on both Grunt, on both Rock and Roll and Clutch. Oops, another mistake. On both Breaker and Rock and Roll are the same. Actually, speaking of Grunt, the legs are the same on him as well. However, this is a 1983 Grunt, and you'll notice that in 1983 they changed a few things. His waist piece is different. So it went from the older, wider waist piece with the H logo, which was supposed to be a Hasbro logo, to a slimmer waist, which has a very more traditional Hasbro symbol with the house in front of the H. Another similarity you'll notice is the chest piece on both Grunt and Breaker is the same, as well as the back. However, they did change the plugs for the backpacks between 82 and 83, so the 83 one a little different than the 82. And then obviously the arms on Rock and Roll and Breaker are the same, so kind of like a Frankenstein effect where they just mismatched pieces to create new figures. So it's pretty interesting to look at that, but they really did come across as very different characters. The line was created using these figures, and as it went on, they got way more detailed and got a lot more paint apps and sculpting, and most figures got individual heads and parts. So that's a look at the 1982 straight arm Breaker. If you guys enjoy G.I. Joe reviews, my knowledge only goes so far, and I'd like to recommend that you go ahead and take a look at Hooded Cobra Commander 788, who does excellent, very detailed reviews on vintage G.I. Joes. So make sure to check him out. I'll post a link in the description below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, subscribing, and commenting. Until next time.